So, hi guys. Today we are going to talk about one of the most underrated things that not a lot of people talk much about in sales. So, most of the times, Pulkit and Abhinav will agree with me. Most of the times, what we usually do is we need someone to do what is already their best interest.
Mm-hmm.
So, do
Hi,
you
hi
think
guys,
we
can you
can
hear
compare
me?
it?
There's
Abhinav, I can
no
hear you.
audio from your end.
I think
Okay,
there's some
okay. Thanks,
disturbance
thanks,
from.
thanks, thanks. Okay, good. I'm sorry for being late, guys. Let's get started. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. So, Pulkit, what I was saying is, I mean, do you agree with me that most of the times while making a sale, while meeting someone, while meeting a client or a lead, do we lead someone, to do what is already in their best interest?
Yeah. At times, let's say people like to be sold. I was just talking to somebody about this idea. At times, people like to be sold. Like I say, I'm in need of something, right? Let's say I'm in need of an AC, right? But I've been thinking about it. I've been looking at my options, and I find it hard, because there's a lot of options. And the next day, you come to me, and you just make it very sweet and easy for me to choose an option and your option. Definitely, I would like to go with you, and so I'm essentially happy being sold, right? You get what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yes, yes, absolutely. So now to make it really easy for the people who are listening to us, I'll be giving an example of something that is very common, and we have seen a lot in movies and serials and web series, and which will be an example of the counselor and his patient. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah.
you know what basically counselors do is they lead you. I mean, say you're a patient, they lead you to the best interest what they feel is for you. Like they lead you to a journey of your own making. And I don't think there can be a better example that is coming to my mind, which leads to the conclusion with a great example of consistency and commitment.
Yeah.
So, guys, that's what we're going to talk much about today. Apart from other basics, we're talking about the commitment and the consistency that goes into making a sale. That is the actual thing that gets a lot of people this main sale. What do you think, Pulkit?
Yeah. Money is
And
in the follow up, man. Sorry, I'm just speaking.
exactly, exactly. And I think principle depends a lot on logic. I mean, say one way is to apply. I mean, one way to apply this logic is by asking your customer, by asking your lead, a lot of questions that engage them into making small decisions.
Yeah, so the way we call it, say before we discovery calls, we have discovery calls with clients. Before signing a deal, what we do is we do a discovery call and then we have a set of questions to get as much information from the client so that you sure that you are capable of solving their problems. And probably you'll try something unique, which can help you quote your pricing similarly. Let's say the client gives you some sort of clue. It could be about their monthly revenue, could be about something else, right? The idea is to get as much information in a very swift way.
Right, right. I completely
The
agree with you,
more
man.
severe the problem will be, the more willing they are to pay, right? Yeah. Let's say if they are trying to solve some problem of theirs urgently, then you can charge them based on the urgency of their thing, right? Let's say the festival period is about to there. Let's say as we see in e-commerce, we see during the months of October, November, December, as the holiday season approaches, clients are very urgent. They want their marketing, they want their website to be ready within days. But that times you can always charge a premium. So yeah, I mean talking to clients and getting to know their problems very well always helps, and it's always a
Right, right. So Pulkit, I don't know. I mean, for some reason, this is fact. Okay, and that fact is a very known fact. Yet, so many of us who do sales on day-to-day life ignore it on a very large level. What is this fact? So the fact is, So many people, I mean, they give up after the first follow up. I mean, they follow up once, and if they don't get the reply and they're done, they close. I mean, the lead, close the prospect, whatever you want to call it. Okay, and even more people they cut off after the second follow up, or after a rejection, after second follow up, and that's where the main opportunity is for everybody of us. We there are a very less amount of people that come across the
Yeah.
third follow up or fourth follow up. So Pulkit, according to you, how many follow ups should a person go with? I think that is a very common question that the people in this audience, in the audience would have.
Yeah, so true, absolutely. Like, see, people in their real lives are very busy, and it's very easy for them to, miss your emails, miss your messages, or probably not care about you, right? But if let's say you're selling something to me, and if you reach out to me, I'm not gonna just if it's super interesting, I might just reply to your, but I'm going to see how you craft your emails. I'm going to see how you come back a week later to me and saying, "Hey, Pulkit, I thought that Monday might not be a good day for us to connect, but let's connect on the next Tuesday," or stuff like that. So yeah, follow-ups is key, guys. Everyone is, let's say, living their busy lives, and what you're selling is something that important to them, they might have went out and tried to solve it themselves. They might have went out looking for your service. But if you, so there's a thing called interest and a thing. So it's like when you are doing a Google search, you want that thing, right? And while you are on FB and you see an ad, so you create interest around it. There's a difference. That is, there's something that you
100%.
need. Yeah, there's something that you need it right now, and there's something that you to purchase. So keep following up, guys. Keep following up.
So, getting back to the question, what is a good number to, how many times should you follow up with a lead?
So yeah, I mean, it depends, guys. It's up to you. And to be honest, it's not always good to let's say keep following up like 10 to 12 times. I usually follow up, let's say 3 to 5 times. Once I send out an email, I'll send
And
an email.
again, it's
But yeah, yeah, Abhinav, go.
again, it's all about the creativity and testing. If I talk about my recent follow up, I tested one follow up that where I told them, if you are in the Gryffindor, say me yes, and if you are in the Hufflepuff, say me no, that I won't contact you anymore. So you can be creative around it, and you can test, because there is no such set of guided rules that you have to do this amount of follow up. You can be creative and you can test three, four. I can say test at least four, and after that it's up to you.
So
Right,
yeah,
right.
that brings me
I
to,
think,
I'll just add something here.
hmm
Yeah.
go ahead.
So the idea is to when you send out your first email, you are kind of introducing yourself, or you're probably sending out some report that you took out, right, for the client, or any kind of basic introduction, hello stuff. In your second email, don't do the same thing, or don't ask, "Hey, I contacted you, but you didn't reply to my email. Please reply." You don't do it this way. In your first email, you do the intro part, you introduce yourself, you probably identify a problem and offer your solution. In your second part, add some resources. Add resources. That is, give them something. Give them your proof of work, something, some case study, right? Give them some testimonials, like how your ex client is, very happy with your Y service. Idea is to keep giving them information. And to be honest, I have seen this working. Let's say first email they might not reply, but with your third or fourth email they might reply. And I've seen some of my friends getting these kind of replies from their prospects, that I've not seen anyone such persistent in sales. And if you are such persistent in selling, you will be very good. I mean, it's just that they really appreciate it. Being
Right,
persistent.
right, absolutely. So I know, Abhinav spoke about a very brilliant thing about creativity, and I think that
Yeah,
is very important, while pitching to someone. And the biggest
yeah.
part about creativity is once if a pitch gets famous, or if a pitch is nice and somebody comes to know it's nice, it spreads like anything. So it no more becomes that special, that different, and then something like that. So always prefer to build your own email draft and try different things. That's how you'll come to know which one is nice and which one is not. Because you cannot ask someone,
Yeah,
if this is nice or if this is not. You have to try it yourself. You can take ideas from internet, but just copy pasting the same pitch or that you have already, on the internet is not a good idea according to me. And as Pulkit
yeah,
said, sharing resources and sharing things that you've done before, that is a very big way to show your credibility. So that becomes basically your track record. You're basically proving your track record. You're basically telling the client, giving more authenticity to the client or to the lead. So he feels or she feels that you have done something, and she or he can see the work and judge you according to the work as well. And I feel Pulkit and Abhinav, we humans, we always look for how complex things make sense. And hence, I mean, I have noticed it. I don't know if it is very common with you guys as well. But people, they look at the different things or the elements that forms that particular product or the service. Okay, for example, I'll take an example of the place where we are right now. Avalon Meta server. Okay, so to
okay.
people, for people to join this Discord server or to come to this Discord server and to check what it is, they'll be looking what exactly builds the server. What is this server all about? So what they'll see is they'll see it in a very small part and break it down to all so many layers. So that's what people do. They look at different things forming the service, and your email is one of them. So that's where you can be against. Ahead of your competitor to have a good impression since the day one. What do you
Yeah,
think,
like
Pulkit?
being creative. So like about the thing that you told, like the best cold emails, like so like the first thing that anybody, if you ask them to write a cold email, what they do is they go to Google and they search for the best cold emails of 2021 or 2020.
Right,
Varun,
exactly.
yeah, in one of our last streams, Varun said this very clearly that if you are using the template, like to be honest, using template saves you time, right? Until and unless you don't close a deal, right? You're only investing time in prospecting and all. That's not gonna land you a sale, right? I mean, that's gonna land you a sale, but it's not money until and unless it's convert. It's if you sign a client. So in order to save time, what we use tools, we use templates, and we probably take help from somewhere, right? Now, taking template, the thing is, uh, when you use a template, it's probably available for anyone out there. And one thing to avoid that is, let's say using templates from way long ago, using templates from 2014, 2015, because cold emailing has been there, right, for a lot while now. So yeah,
Right,
the
right.
source of your information and how do you, and another thing is, how can you be proud using templates? So it's very simple. You just need one skill, and that skill is called stalking. You need to know how to stalk your prospect, right? For an example,
Exactly.
right? You came across a company that you want to sell to. So in order to sell to a company, you don't sell to a company as a whole. You sell to the decision maker, the CEO, the co-founder, whatever, right? So you need to find them and you need to find their email. And let's say that is easy. You've got a lot of tools. You've got LinkedIn to find about the person and their emails and all, right? So once you have done it, now how do you make your email that's going to go to that person be creative, be special, and stand out rather than other people using tons of templates? Is search them. Search them is like, say, you see which college they went, where which sports team do they like, or anything. Let's say do they like Pepsi or Coca Cola, or let's say are they a cricket fan or a football fan, something like that. And then you build a link. The link could be, let's say you play football as well, or you have some basic info about football, or let's say you just did a simple Google search about football, and you found out that yesterday Messi was bought by some team for X million dollars. Here you've got a link between the person whom you're going to sell, sending out the email, something that interests him as well, and some. So tomorrow when you send that email to him with a subject line something like, "Hey, Messi just got bought for this. How do you feel about it?" The person is going to open your email. Your chances of being a normal spammy email has been reduced. Now you have a chance that your email will be hopefully being replied. Yeah, like personalization is the key, guys. Do some research
Right,
and
right. That's what
yeah.
where I was going to get to. So when Pulkit mentioned about stalking, and I would like to add to this that personalizing an email is a very great way of attracting the viewers attention, because everybody likes when you work hard to research about that person and uh, somehow connect that hobby or that place or that workplace or the favorite sport in the email. So I think the only way you can personalize an email is by stalking that person in and out. Now we have a lot of channels. We have Instagram, we have Facebook, we have the whole history of where that person is working on LinkedIn. So you have a lot of things to stalk the person on before emailing, because everybody likes when someone works hard on knowing about yourself, you tend to reply more towards that person than a person who hasn't researched anything about you. Do I make sense, Pulkit? I mean, what is your thought on this?
Yeah, the base formula is you're giving them attention, you're appreciating them, right?
Right, right. Absolutely, absolutely.
Everybody likes
So,
attention
guys,
in these days.
absolutely. So that is a great
Yes,
way of
Sanvit.
forming a mail.
I have Sanvit. One thing I want to add, like as Pulkit said that you have to stalk people, and I have tried one line. I want to address it here. I literally
Hmm.
told them, I know it's awkward to stalk people, but I did. And in parentheses, I told them, okay, it's sorry for that. So I told them, I know it's awkward to stalk people. I did, but I did. Okay, sorry for that. And then I start and I personalized the email, and then followed by the page. So I think it's all about adding creativity, and a little bit about humor also, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Right, right. So that
So
is
a
one
lot
way
of
to
things.
personalize the email using the research that you got while stalking. So adding humor is I mean is your choice. It is, see, everything you can do with the email. It is your job. Nobody can answer you if it is good or bad until you test it yourself. So everyone who is listening to me,
Exactly.
you cannot ask anyone if this is good. So definitely some people can tell you if just going. I mean, pitch is good. How can it be converted into smaller words or better formation of lines? I'm sure that can be done by a good sales expert. But the best result of that page, if it's working or not, it will only get you when you actually send it out to people, and you track the respond. I mean, track if they're opening the mail or not. So, again, when summarizing it out, you have to research about the prospect, work hard on your prospect, let him or let her feel special. You can form up your own email instead of just copying the template. Okay, now I'll tell you how you can do that. Okay, so you talk about that person. You can start with, you can open the email with two lines that indirectly make that person understand that you have researched much about him, because not everybody would know their personal, favorites, places, or where they have worked ago. I mean, earlier, or maybe their favorite sport or favorite food or cuisine. Anything. It can be anything that you can get on the internet. So I think that is a good way to open the email. You can try it out, and you can check it yourself. I think it is working for me, and I hope it will work for you too. And you have to hit the opportunity, and I think the best opportunity, as I mentioned earlier, for people who join now is keep following up 4, 5, 6, even 7 times if it is required. Okay, because following up is the key. Most people just cut off if they don't get a response or don't get a reply.
Okay, so Samit, we have talked a bit
Hmm.
about creativity, about cold emails, and all of that. Now, one thing
Hmm.
is like I believe everybody here would be wanting to know is sales, as we all like see that sales is very unpredictable. It's a brutal job, guys. You might make a lot of money in 1 month, and you might not make any money in first 3 weeks of the month, and last 2 days of the month you are making a lot of money, right? So, how do companies, bigger huge companies, how do they, they have a solid framework to achieve their sales results? How can they be sure that they're going to reach their sales results? How can they bring certainty into their business that we're going to hit this much revenue? What do they employ? What processes do they have in place? Because they salespeople doing outreach for them, right? Selling their products or services for them. Let's take Baiju for an example, or a lot of other such Zomato. So what do these companies do in order to predict their revenue and growth?
So I think, Pulkit, the big companies that you're talking about, like Baiju, they have immense amount of budget to spend on marketing. Okay, so if say
Sure.
Baiju's, they approach me on mail tomorrow directly, but it is not. I mean, it won't be their first approach towards me. They have already approached me through TV, through Instagram ads, to Facebook ads, to wherever they place the ads. So I mean, those big companies, they hit the prospect first through marketing.
Yeah.
Okay, so these
So what
people,
you're
they have.
saying is,
Mhm.
the marketing team does their job with all their marketing campaigns, and then they probably collect your data from somewhere. They ask you to sign up on a Facebook ad or on YouTube or read a blog, give your email,
Right,
something like
right,
that.
absolutely,
And
absolutely. With
then
that, Pulkit,
they give, yeah.
would you like to explain the audience what is the difference between marketing and sales? I think, fair number of
Sure,
people are a
it
bit
will be covered in this
confusing.
example. Yeah. Perfect. So guys, let's say you see a ad for Baizu or somebody else, right? So when you see an ad and probably give your data somehow, or probably you not, because Baizu is not selling to you, it's probably selling to your parents or younger somewhere, right? So let's say when your parents somehow end up giving their data, their mobile number or email, and even I've heard that these companies are using data from schools as well, right? They're getting parents' data from schools. So what they do is they get their data. Now these data are leads. Leads are your prospects. What they do, they pass on these leads, they qualify these leads. Qualifying is, actually checking out if this person can really buy from you or not. Does he have this much money to buy from you or not? Then they pass on these leads to the sales team. The sales team that is on the field, who's gonna knock on your door, call you and try to sell you the product, right? So that's the thing. Now, how do they make sure that they're gonna reach their revenue target? Simply, there's a thing called pipeline and there's a thing called lead or deal. So pipeline is, how many probable how many probable deals there are which you can expect to close, because sales, high ticket sales usually don't happen in just a day or two. They take their own time. Like in the e-commerce thing that we see in the agency thing, it takes around 2 to 3 weeks for a deal to close, right? Now, what can be considered as a deal in your pipeline? Let's say you meet prospect X, you do the introduction call, you understand their difficulties, problems, and you pitch your services. After that, if he or she is still in conversation with you and you have sent the proposal, that thing would be called as a deal in your pipeline. He or she is still not your client, he still has not paid you a single money, but he or she, you have sent out the proposal and they are about to send you the payment. They might send you the payment in some time. So that you call as a deal in the pipeline. Now these companies, they predict. Let's say if we get 100 deals in the pipeline, we know only 50 or 60% of them are going to convert, right? So now they know in order for them, and let's say every deal is 1,000 rupees. With 50, they are making 50,000 a month. So now they know in order for them to make 50,000 rupees a month, they need to have 100 deals in the pipeline. And then they go back. It's just reverse engineering. When they reverse engineering, they know that they need to have 100 deals in the pipeline, and for those 100 leads, probably they need 500 leads. So that's how the whole thing works. The marketing team brings the 500 leads with their campaign, digital or anything, and then they push those leads to the sales team. The sales team reaches out, make connections, and then let's go forward. Let's say 100 deals go into the pipeline, and then the whole sales things work. Like this is how they kind of structure it, and every day they have targets that, hey, I need to reach out to 100 people every day in order to reach to my monthly goal, stuff like that. Does it make sense,
Right,
guys?
right. It absolutely does, man. And a small tip for everyone, if you want to, approach a Fortune 500 kind of company or a very big company, it is, better if you first hit them through marketing, and you have to be hell lot of creativity, I mean, creative out there. I mean, you can be creepy sometimes, but you have to be creative at all the times, because, if you directly approach them, it doesn't make a lot of sense to directly approach these Fortune 500 companies, or companies which are already very big. It makes a lot of sense for me to first hit them through marketing, either LinkedIn or either Facebook or either Instagram. And by the way, guys, LinkedIn has this feature. If you guys don't know that, you can post an ad. You can run an ad campaign just for the employees of a specific company. Okay, for an example, tomorrow if I want to hit Byju's, since we took Byju in earlier example, I can, I have a feature. On LinkedIn, everyone has that feature. So I get that feature on LinkedIn where I can run an ad campaign just for employees of Byju's. So what I'm doing is I'm first, hitting them through the marketing, and then slowly I'll get the data or the email in the through ad campaign, and then I'll touch them and I'll approach them through in their email box. And to explain in very simple words the difference between marketing and sales, I think that is a very important question that a lot of you might have. Marketing is usually it is a message for a lot of people. They don't look for the uh, personalization in that, but it is a very broad message for everyone out there, the audience. And it is usually about what and why. It is basically for brand awareness. Okay, so marketing is basically a broad message for a broad number of audience, and sales is one on one or one on two, or basically it is one on one. So the person, and if he can buy the product, or if it is a qualified lead, and then you hit that person directly and approach him through call or through email, whatever you channel you want to. So I mean, I hope that explains everyone the difference between marketing and sales. Does that, Pulkit?
Yeah, yeah, bro, it makes sense. Now we talked
So,
about companies. We talked
Sumit, one
about
thing I want to add.
yeah.
Go ahead, Abhinav, tell me.
Okay, so if I talk about our audience, majority of them will be, I think, freelancers. So one thing I just want to add that, see, when you are starting out, do not go for the marketing. I have invested a hell lot of time marketing myself on LinkedIn, on Instagram. I have done a consistent work on Instagram, but I didn't get. I begged for a client, like they will see me. Uh, they will see my video, they will see my work, and they will contact me. See, do not wait for clients. Either go and knock their doors and talk to them directly, start a conversation, and that's how you pick some gigs here and there, and then you start building your portfolio. So do not wait for clients to come to you, and do not do marketing in the first place. Start with the sales, get some client, and then invest in the marketing.
Okay, so bro, I just how painfully you described to us. It's true. The first sale, guys, hear this out. The first sale is going to be brutal. You might not know. You can't predict when are you going to land your first sale. But believe me, it gets easy after the first sale. It gets a lot easier. Now, Abhinav, just how you about let's say your own personal having let's say not investing your time in your own personal brand, and probably you don't have the money, expecting that a lot of us don't have the money to invest, right? Running ads for our own self and stuff
Exactly.
like that. Now, Abhinav, but let's say if I want to go and apply for a job, right? Similarly, just like selling my service to a company, I can also apply for a job that is also selling my service, right? At the end of the day. So, what do you say? Like, would you still say that having a strong personal brand doesn't make sense in this case?
See, all they care is the work that you have done before. I have recently hired a web designer, and he have done a good job on his website. Plus, he have created a course around it. So as you can see here, he have a very good expertise, and he have a very good website, and he have done for several other clients, several other paid clients. It's not a dummy project, but he actually delivered the result to other clients. So for me, the client who have worked upon, sorry, for me, a guy who have worked for a real client worth more than a guy who have just worked on a dummy project, or didn't that design or that website didn't convert or didn't bring results. Because if I have a business, and if that guy uh, bring result via his design and the development part, then it's more valuable, and that case study is more valuable to me rather than you are creating a dummy project. So I think still the sales is important. I can be wrong, but that's my perspective.
So adding to that, I would be able to summarize it for a to very specific extent for the audience. So what it means to say is, if you're starting out tomorrow and you have no clients and you actually go to selling people at this price. So instead of that, what it's trying to tell you is first try to build a portfolio. For that, you have it doesn't matter if you work for free of cost for some people and build a portfolio and then go approaching people and sell them the website. I think that's what you're trying to say, Abhinav. Am I right?
Yeah, what I'm trying to say is that work upon a real project that
Yeah,
you can
that's what I
show a
said. Yeah,
client or a
exactly, exactly.
or a employer. Yeah, yeah.
And the example that Abhinav gave about the marketing, guys, that is, I mean, and I gave about the marketing. I gave that, before hitting the Fortune 500 companies. So please don't confuse it with my example and Abhinav example, because Abhinav told you to not do marketing and, directly go for sale. And he's absolutely right about that. But what I was talking about is, when they hit the big companies, the Fortune 500 kind of companies, or the very big companies, the unicorns and stuff like that, for them, approaching them, it is very important for you to first hit them to marketing. That's what I meant.
Cool. So
Yeah, I
Samvit,
started with a sale
now
and then yeah,
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 yeah, bro,
Pulkit, go
continue.
ahead.
No, no, you please complete
Our
your point, and then I was just saying that yeah,
I was just saying
Okay,
that
guys.
start with the sale and build a Fortune 500 brand, and then go with the marketing, right? When you have a cash flow coming in, then you invest on the marketing, then you do the podcast, then you do blogging, YouTube, and many other things. But for starting, just focus on the sales.
So, so basically, to summarize the whole, talk between me and Abhinav, you should first build a portfolio, and instead of applying the dummy projects in your portfolio, try to work for people. Try to get some real projects on the portfolio. Even it might, might end up working for free of cost, but that is worth it. That might show the result in the long term, run. So build a good portfolio with some real projects over dummy projects, and when you're starting up, just focus on then selling the websites or the whatever you do XYZ. Okay, so Pulkit, what do you think about closing? What is closing?
okay. I think you can never know it by reading, by hearing from your mentors or anything, unless you close your own first client. Right, guys? And to be honest, all that I've learned, which makes sense in the real world, has come from the first sale only. I'll tell you what some key things why this is very important. One thing is, what have you sold here? You have sold a promise, right? In a service agency, in a service line, what we do is we take the payment upfront and then we deliver our service. So there's a promise in this whole thing. I've not given him anything tangible yet. I've sold him a promise, and he or she, who is my client, he or she is putting some trust into me.
Right, you're
When
absolutely
you are
right.
a freelancer with not a lot of experiences, not a huge team, with not a lot of society's trust levels, somebody puts in a trust in you, that's a huge thing. And especially when you don't have a lot of case studies to share with your client. So yeah, and only then you get the idea of sales. That say, hey, how important is to have empathy with your client. How important trust is in business. And believe me, guys, even if it's a $100 deal or $1,000 deal, trust remains the number one factor. Communication, guys. Literally, we have spent nights communicating with people. We couldn't, let's say, you can't, I mean, you can't just leave the deal and send the proposal and expect the client to pay. You have to be there to answer any of the questions, and it's always whenever I send out an like it's reducing by the time now, but whenever I send out an invoice, it's always some sort of a temptation or some sort of an uncertainty. Like I need to know if the client has received the mail or if he's paying on time or not. Believe me, when I mean it's always a sense of relief. Yeah, to be there. Yeah, it's always exciting at the least.
So I'll just tell the audience what my view on closing is. So I think, Pulkit, that closing is just not a moment of time. I think it is a series
Yeah.
of decisions altogether made by the client through all the follow-ups and meetings that is summarizes to one decision whether to work with us or no, basically. So basically it is a series
Yeah.
of decisions made throughout the journey between the salesman and the prospect. Okay, so
Yep.
as we
Everything matters.
exactly, so as you go from one question to another, from one follow-up to another, that's where you are building the case, and the customer come or customer is not a proper word for that. I'll rather use a prospect or a lead. Okay, so that's where the prospect comes closer to making a decision of whether to work with you or no. So
Yep.
I think
Yep.
it is altogether a series of decisions. So what you have to do basically is you have to engage the prospect into making small decisions. And I'll tell you how to do that. You basically have to ask the questions that are relevant to the business. And when the prospect will answer to the question, he basically will be answering to himself or herself, because that question will be completely relevant to the to the audio. I mean, prospect's business, or whatever you want to call it.
Yep. Yep. Guys, people judge you. Like
Sanvik,
in a sales call,
Yeah,
definitely.
right, they do. Yep, Abhinav, you're saying something?
one thing I quickly want to clear here, hit here that offer also creates a vital role while you are closing. Suppose that I am a web designer, okay? So I just
Mm-hmm.
design the front end in the Figma. What if I design and then
Mm-hmm.
build? That make more sense to the client so that they don't have to hire a developer. So try to craft your message very cleverly. I would say that if you are a designer, then collaborate with someone who can build the website. Plus, also collaborate with someone who can drive traffic to that website. If you package the whole service and give it to someone, first of all, you are giving them a hell lot of value upfront, and the price that you are charging to them will seem very less that value that you are providing upfront. So I think the value that you are bringing on the table, or the offer that you are bringing on the table, also plays a significant role in are you guys
Yeah, bro. I'll quickly add.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So it is trying to tell you, you have to upsell with your own product if you can. If you know the current product very well, why not upsell it and provide a better package for the end customer? And
Yeah. Why does
I
I'll quickly add, why does a package seem better for your customer is because something that you haven't yet experienced, and value is something in real, the real worth of it. Let's say when you selling a web design at let's say $100, and if you club it with, let's say, development and marketing, and you sell the same thing for $1,000, I'm sure your client is going to take it. The thing is, the perceived value of the whole package increases. For you, it could be only 100, 100, 100, and 300, right? But if you club it together, so for the client, it's like, hey, all of my design, development, and marketing needs have been taken care of. That's how you increase the perceived value. Perceived values change, right? It could be different for a client, for different for a business. Like it depends from business to business. The idea is to increase the perceived value for the client.
think guys only add if if it integrates well with the main product. Otherwise, you will sell one product and try to upsell one product completely irrelevant to that. It won't really make sense to that. And then I think another thing that a lot of people might be confused about is if I am a person, okay, and if I don't want to do a sales job in in the company, or I don't want to do any sales job in anywhere else, okay. So how is sales relevant to me? Should I focus on sales or not? Should I learn to some sales skills or no? So this question is very important, because what people think is, a lot of people I've seen, that if I don't want to work in a company as a salesman or something like that, why should I learn sales, or why should I focus on sales? Why should I even read about sales? I know what is sales. I show my product and sell it. So what, I mean, what would you like to tell to those kind of people?
I would
How is
tell
sales
them,
relevant to everybody? So basically, my
yeah,
question
yeah,
is, how is sales relevant to everybody, even if you don't want to work as a salesman?
sure, sure. I would say they are doing sales every day, but they're just
Exactly,
unaware of it,
exactly.
right? It's just that you're unaware. Let's say you are a project manager at your firm, you are at your like company, like you're not doing sales, you're not in the sales department, but you are in the project department. Let's say you are an account manager, and if you guys are familiar with the agency culture, let's say you are a CSM, client servicing manager, and you handle the team, right, for the client for a particular project. Now, every day you have to convince your teammates, designers, developers, marketers, to give their 100%, to probably complete tasks on time, to everything. Like every day you have to sell them. Like you have to sell yourself. Why should they hear you? Why should they follow you? Right? And I think this might not be a good example, but the idea is, why should somebody follow you? Why should somebody listen to you? Why should you have to sell them that, hey, I'm a good person to date with, stuff like that. I think that makes sense. Yeah.
Right, and absolutely makes sense. And then one more thing is,
Pulkit,
some people,
Pulkit,
they think they are
Yeah.
introverts, so they cannot be a salesman. I have a lot of my friends who thinks that, he tells me, Sanjay, I am very introvert kind of guy. So how can I enter sales? How can I be a salesman? To tell to those people.
I have a quote from Jay Shetty. We are all introverts in one thing or another, but we are all extroverts in the thing that excites us the most. Right? If I think chai is, I'm very excited about chai all the time. So I can talk to you on hours for chai. I'll be a good chai salesman, I think. It's just a vague example, guys, but I'm saying that we are all always excited about something, and we can do a good job in that as well. Yeah. And you can always
Right,
train
that was a
yourself.
brilliant example, Pulkit. I really appreciate the example. And one more thing, guys, I would like to add here is, there is no real, way you can learn skills until you implement it in your real life. Okay, a lot of people, what they do is, you buy $999 courses from a lot of people every month, which is just stupid for Indians. It doesn't apply to India. Okay, people like Tai Lopez, I'm not wrong, Iman Gaji and those people. It is stupid to even try to implement those things. But it's just not for India. So it might work in some other countries, but it's definitely not from India. So to learn sales, there is, you learn what usually people do to get sales, and then you implement it in your real life, and then that's how you get better at sales. What do you think about this, Pulkit?
Sure. I agree with it 100%. Abhinav here has
Sanjay,
points.
one thing
Abhinav,
I
want to
want
add
to,
something? Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
Abhinav wants to
I
add
have
something. Tell me.
read this quotes. Yeah, I have read this quote on in a book called One Page Marketing Plan, and that says that knowing and not doing is same as not knowing. And let me repeat it again for you. Knowing and not doing is same as not knowing. So unless you do the thing, you do not think that you know the thing. So make sure always put the idea, your idea or your whatever you have learned from somewhere into action. And one thing I just want to make clear here, that I read a chat yesterday in sales team, a sales Discord, that someone is telling that Udemy courses are not good and the books are the only way. See, it's all about the information. You can gather information from anywhere. If you want to follow a guy, just search KD and sales on the Udemy. You will find a very good course of him. And yeah, and one thing I just want to say that most of the freelance, I think that there are a lot of freelancer in this conference room. So I just want to make sure, I just want to tell you that when you see other freelancer work, if you are an illustrator, if you are a web designer, when you see them, you think like, oh my God, they have a very solid portfolio. They have uh, designed this kind of design or new 3D, some kind of thing. But at the end of the day, sales matter. As we were talking about the sales, why it matters and why it's for everyone. He is not able to sell that product, it's worthless. I do not care if you can design Eiffel Tower in 3D or what, but if you can't sell it, it's worthless for me. Same for you. If you think that guy have a better portfolio, that guy have better hand on Illustrator or any design tool, it's bullshit. If you know how to sell, and if you can outsource that work to him, you are making a big chunk of money, not him. So always uh, focus on the sales. If you're not good at it, then outsource it to the most expensive guy, or the guy who have a good hand on it.
Perfect, perfect. So guys,
Yeah.
I think we've talked for a lot now. Let's
So,
go
so
for some questions.
right, right. So, can
Anybody,
we,
guys?
allow everyone to speak? Is it possible in the server? Kirtana, can you check with that?
So no, no, no. So basically, whoever wants to ask any questions, they can just post it on the main group. Their questions.
Awesome, awesome. So before giving, I mean, I would just like everyone to do a kind of homework, So as I said, it is only the learning and sales only applies when you actually apply it in the real life. Okay. So I would like to give everyone a small homework, whatever you do, I mean, if you are in the sales directly or indirectly. So what I want you to do is I want you to break down the buying process for the customer. Okay, create steps for from the prospecting to the closing part. Okay, now the next step I want you to do is create questions around the micro decisions that happens on the journey. As I said, closing is a journey of I mean, it is a series of decisions altogether. It is not a moment in time. So I want you to prepare some questions that are that give micro decisions. I mean, that give the ability to for the customer to make micro decisions around the product. Okay, and then you have to do is you have to summarize everything and put it at the end. So that's how you close the sale. So I think this homework, if you, do and implement it, I think it might work for you. And of course, guys, sales is very specific. Sorry, it's not very specific. It depends on different businesses and different types of businesses. If you are door-to-door selling, I'm sure most of what we talked was for internet selling. Basically you sell via email, or you sell via any other channel on the internet. So I think that is it. Anything you want to add to it, Pulkit or Amina?
I'm done, man.
Pulkit,
Let's
you add something?
go for the question answer.
Yeah, sure, guys. Please post any of your questions in the sales channel. We'll be very happy to answer.
Awesome, awesome. So bye, guys. Thank you for having us, Kirtana, and thank you to everyone who's been listening to us. I hope I could put some value in this session. And the best way to say thank you to us is by implementing it in your own life. And if you do sales, just implement it, and that is the best way to that is the best thing you can do for us after this call.
And follow us on Instagram.
Sure, sure.
Okay, guys.
Okay, bye bye.
Good day, everyone. Bye.